welcome to my booktube.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I have dropped off the face of the earth for 2 weeks, so I am back doing kind of a mid-month check-in just to let you know where I'm at for reading. Things got really busy. I did put together a TBR and had planned on filming it and then never did. And now today is the 16th and it's a little late to be talking about what I plan on doing this month because we're already halfway through. Before I get into what I plan on reading, I of course want to touch on the Black Lives Matter movement. This is very important to be sure that we are being engaged. I know I haven't been present on my channel, but I have a very small following on my channel. I think I'm at 23 subscribers right now, so I'd say most of my impact would probably be on Instagram or on any of my personal pages that aren't related to BookTube or Bookstagram, and that's where I've been the most active. So I will leave some links down below. I'm from Canada, so I'm also going to be linking some things that are specific to here. So for what I had planned for my TBR, it is all the books right here on this shelf. So two of the ones that I had carried over from last month was The Wicked King by Holly Black. I was dying to get to this book all month and for some reason just kept holding off on it, being like, oh, it'll be a reward, one of the last books that I finish. So yeah, didn't get to enjoy that until this month. So this I added on to my June TBR and I have since finished and I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun reading this book. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, this follows a girl named Jude. She and her two sisters were kidnapped by a fae who had murdered her parents and they were taken into his world. Jude and her twin sister Taryn really want to get along and fit in with the fae and try to find their place in society there, but they both go about it in very different ways. And it was so much fun watching Jude's journey and watching her relationship with her sister as they navigated how differently they went about these things, and of course her relationship with the prince and what that looks like and how that changed over time too. This book was especially fun because the fae can't lie, but she as a human can. There's a lot of political intrigue going on and I had so much fun trying to figure out what the fae meant by what they were saying and who was misleading her and what kind of surprises could be coming around the corner. And yeah, this did not disappoint. It was so much fun. It's been super hyped and I also am hyping it too because I really enjoyed this book. The next book that I had put on my TBR was another carryover from last month. It's The Kingdom of Back. We all know the story of Mozart, but this is about his sister and she always wanted to become a brilliant composer as well, so she kind of ends up falling into the shadows of her brother as he shines brighter and becomes more successful, and she's really afraid of fading into the background. One of her biggest fears is being forgotten, and so that's another thing that makes the story so sad so far. This is historical fiction with a fantasy element. Both the two siblings, as they're growing up and composing music and playing music together, it brings them to this magical world that they explore together. And so seeing how the magical world interacts with the real world, it's really interesting, and I'm not very far in it, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's not super gripping, so I keep picking up and finishing other books while I'm slowly reading this. So this has become my before bed book that I just read before I fall asleep, so I should finish it this month. It'll just take me some time, unfortunately, but it is good. It's just hasn't gripped me by the soul yet. One of the next books I put on my TBR, which is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the third and final book in the Folk of the Air trilogy that follows Jude. It follows The Wicked King. This book was so good. I originally was going to put it in my TBR for the Hogsmeade Readathon because I am going to be participating in that next week, but I couldn't wait and I just wanted to read what happened next, so I swapped this out for another book that I have planned for that. I'm not sure which of the three books I would say I enjoyed the most. But it was all such a fun read and it was a really good time, and this is definitely a story that I will be rereading again in the future because I really enjoyed how it went. And I'm sure there are lots of things that I would pick up on the second read through, so I definitely do want to reread this one day. The other book that I'm reading is Sword of Destiny by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is the second book in the Witcher series. This one I'm buddy reading with Brittany. We became friends on Bookstagram and found out of each other, both had a booktube channel, so we decided to do a buddy read together. We're keeping this super casual just because things seem to be changing a lot with work and life circumstances with COVID, so we didn't want to commit to anything that was too intense. So we're just reading one of the stories a week, so I definitely won't be finishing this book this month. It's been really fun to compare the book and the show and the characters that I know from the game, because I started with the video game and then I watched the show and then I read the books, which not normal for me. Normally I read the books first, but yeah, I'm having a really good time with this. I'm loving getting to know the characters so much more, and it's really fun seeing and which stories are in there and which ones aren't. But yeah, I'm really liking it so far. No complaints. This next book might come as a bit of a surprise. I'm currently reading The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. This is the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series. I haven't talked about Wheel of Time at all yet on my channel. I read the first 5 or 6 books before I started my undergrad in university, and that was about 8 years ago now, so I completely forgot most of what happened, so I'm going back and rereading them. I started this in February. I was mostly listening to them on audiobook when I commuted to work because I can't read on the bus anymore because I get really car sick, which is unfortunate because I used to read in the vehicle as a child all the time, so I'm really annoyed by that. But anyway, when I do get audiobooks, I tend to choose books that are a lot bigger and a substantial amount of listening hours if I'm going to get them. So that's why I've been listening to these on audiobook instead of physically reading them, because I do own the entire series as well. I only have 5 hours left of this one. I didn't pick it up at all in the past 2 months, I think, so I decided to start picking it up again because I want to keep getting through it. I really enjoyed the characters. There's a lot of people do complain that Robert Jordan has very flowery writing and likes to really describe things in detail, but that doesn't really bother me. I feel like George R. R. Martin did that a lot in Game of Thrones. It doesn't bother me. I think the thing that bothers me the most is how often Nynaeve tugs her braid. I don't know anyone that reacts that way when they're angry. It just seems so strange to me. Like, I can't imagine being mad at me like, ugh. It just seems strange. Maybe some of you tug on your braids or your hair when you are frustrated. Please tell me. Just in case you've never heard of or read The Wheel of Time somehow, what this story is, it follows a big group of main characters, and you do get multiple perspectives through the story, but I'd say the biggest main character is Rand. He is the chosen one who is supposed to save the world, basically, from the Dark One. There's a big cast of his friends from his village in the Two Rivers, and they all go on an adventure together, but they end up split up a lot of the time. There's just so much to this. I don't know how to briefly summarize it, but it's a really good story. There's so many different cultures and groups of people and religions and so much going on. I don't think there's any perspectives that I dislike. I know a lot of people don't like Matt at the beginning. I just thought he was pretty playful, and he's grown on me even more since. So I don't think any of these characters have been particularly annoying to me, except for maybe Rand. Sometimes he's kind of dumb. But that's all I have to say so far. I am still really enjoying it, so sorry, that was a really long time, but it's a really long book series, and I definitely recommend so far. I'm a book 415 if you include the prequel, so. I also decided to pick up Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I've been wanting to get more into sci-fi lately. This seems very much like a sci-fi fantasy mixture. There's necromancers in space. It seems really edgy and really fun so far. I just started it yesterday, so I think I'm like 20 pages in, and then I got tired and I switched the Kingdom of Back before bed. This follows our main character Gideon, who is from the 9th planet, or the 9th house on this planet. I don't know, I haven't got too far into it yet, but she, I think, ends up serving the main household here, and apparently they really hate each other, so somehow they have to end up working together to fix a lot of the political issues that are going on. I'm really excited to get into this because I haven't heard much about this. It seems like a decent, dark, edgy read, and I think it'll be a darker mix compared to most of what I have going on my TBR this month. So I definitely think I'll finish this one this month. Yeah. The rest of the books that I have here are maybes. If I have time, I'll get to them. It just depends on how much I end up reading before the Hogsmeade Readathon starts, so I probably won't get to them because I only have, what, like 2 days at the end of the month after the readathon as well, but we'll see. I still keep carrying Thunderhead forward. I did like Scythe, I'm just not dying to get to the second book, so there are other ones that I have been picking up in between. I would really like to get to this one. If you haven't heard of the Arc of the Scythe series or seen my previous videos where I talked about reading the first book, Scythe is a dystopian novel that takes place in our future where humans have conquered death and the only issue that we have now is overpopulation. There's a group of people who go around and kill people and they're called the Scythes. There is the Thunderhead, which takes care of everything. It's basically an artificial intelligence. So the cloud where we stored all of our knowledge has become sentient and turned into the Thunderhead and takes care of everything. The only thing that it doesn't oversee is the Scythedom, because creating and ending life is something that the Thunderhead deems as a human issue and needs to be dealt with by us. So I'm really interested in seeing where our characters go from the first book and what kind of adventures they have lying ahead of them next. It sounds like hopefully there's going to be some political intrigue and a lot of those things going on. I just really didn't get the character depth that I wanted in the first book, so I'm hoping that I'll get it in the second book, which is probably why I haven't picked it up yet. I'm just more of a character-driven reader, and I know that there are a lot of characters who I was already attached to in the books that I have read and am reading. That's why I haven't picked it up yet, but I do hope to get to it soon. If you're waiting for me to talk about it, I apologize, but I promise I will. I promise I will read it eventually. The last two books that I have are maybes as well for this month. I have City of Bones and City of Ashes. I think they go this way. This is the first and second book of the Mortal Instruments. I've seen the Mortal Instruments blow up on BookTube, so I really want to give them another chance. I read them, I want to say late high school, maybe after. So it looks like it came out in 2008. I guess I would have read them end of high school. Been some time since I picked them up, and I've seen them blow up all over BookTube, and there's so many books in the series. I do want to reread these because I don't remember a lot of what happened. I've heard that the Mortal Instruments is a bit more of the weaker books of all of the Shadowhunter books in the world, but with Chain of Gold coming out and seeing everyone hype it and talk about it so much, I wanted to jump back on the bandwagon and see how it's going. So I haven't decided if I want to reread the first book, because I am a huge rereader, so I think I've read this like 3 or 4 times a long time ago. This one I do remember pretty good, so I might skip it and go straight to City of Ashes. Otherwise, I'll start with this. If I even have time this month, because this is a lot of books, and the Hogsmeade Readathon starts in less than a week. And I do have 10 books planned that I'm going to be reading. I do have the full weekend off for the tail end of the readathon, and I did take the Monday off because I took a few Mondays off this month because things have just been wild. So as a quick recap, I have finished the Wicked King and Queen of Nothing already. Really enjoyed them. Probably some of my favorite books this year. It's really hard to say. There have been a lot of favorites so far this year, but I really enjoyed them. I finished them. I'm still in the early pages of Kingdom of Back and Gideon the Ninth. I do foresee myself finishing those books this month. I will not be finishing Sword of Destiny because we're only reading a chapter a week, so I think I should finish sometime in July. And I definitely will be finishing The Dragon Reborn because I have less than 5 hours of the audiobook left. So yeah, that's where I'm sitting now. I apologize for just dropping off the face of the earth for a couple weeks. Please tell me what books that you're reading, how your month is going so far for reading, and what you've really liked so far, and if there's anything you haven't liked so far. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you, and have a great rest of your day. Bye!